Hi, this is Simon, and this is part 3 of our introduction to PureData. This video builds on the ideas of the first two. In this video, though, I'm not going to be building one thing. I'm going to be talking about a number of ways to get numbers into the computer and convert them into MIDI for output. Let's start by quickly making one of our noteout objects. Again, we've been using this with MakeNote to make our sequencers and our random notes. But noteout has a partner that we could use, which is notein. Now, what this can do is it can take an input from a MIDI device. Let's go over and look at my devices here. Preferences, MIDI. I have it listening on port A, which is my external keyboard, and I have it sending out to contact. So if I play my keyboard, I can play that normally and then send information out. This isn't actually terribly useful because all I've done is taken MIDI in and passed it to the MIDI out. Contact can do this without PD interrupting at all. But I could do something a little bit more interesting. Command 1 to make a new object. I can add 7, for example. This wire here is our pitch. This wire is our velocity. So now I'm taking the pitch that's coming in, I'm running it to the out, but I'm also simultaneously running pitches that are a fifth up, a perfect fifth. I could take this a step further and then Command D to duplicate that. I could add a major tenth. Okay, so an octave is 12, a major third is 4, so a major tenth is going to be 16. So I've got a kind of cheap harmonizer going on here. But I could also take this note in and match it as it comes in. So for example, if I have my note in, Command 1 to make a new object, cell 60. I've run this just from the pitch, and so now when the pitch matches 60, this select will send out a bang. Shift Command B. Here's the C. By the way, notice that when I push it down, that flashes once. I'm going to release the key. It flashes again. It sends it on both the key down and the key up. In addition to this, I could make this turn on and off a toggle. Shift Command T. C down, release the C. Now you might already be thinking, okay, if I have a toggle, then I can turn off and on a metro. So you could actually have it so that when you push a certain key on a keyboard or another MIDI controller, it triggers different sequencers to go on and off, which might have some interesting applications in live performance. Rather than take our time doing that, let's talk about another way to get information into the computer. We can use a key object to get not a MIDI keyboard key presses, but your computer keyboard key presses. So this is just a number box for us to see what's coming in. So let me hit some of my keys on the keyboard. Q, W, E, R, T, Y, space. All of these keys are assigned a number that the computer can recognize. Of course, I can just take this number, Command 1, make note. Let's make a note of velocity 100 and a length of 200 milliseconds. Our make note, as always, needs to go out to a note out. Velocity. Playing on my computer keyboard. QWERTY. Of course, QWERTY was a bad idea because when I push this one down, it's note number 113, and that's off of our piano. Pianos have 88 keys. They go from 21 to 108. Okay, so there's my A. Let me go A, S, D, F. Okay, S was out of my range too. Space. The number keys are good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. the same way here, I could just take that key coming in the same way that we did for the notein, that is, cell 38, which we know is the spacebar, and I could make that with a message, play note number 60. So now I can hit all these keys all over the keyboard and nothing happens, but then when I hit spacebar, oops, spacebar is 32. I made a mistake there. So hitting keys all over the keyboard and then space, space, and it's only playing 60. Of course, just as we did with notein, Control-Shift-T, space to turn it on, space to turn it off. That could be something very useful for starting and stopping metros that are playing random notes or sequences. Another handy way to get MIDI information in can be with ctlin. This lets us send in continuous controller. So you might have knobs on your MIDI keyboard, or like I have at the beginning of this video, you might have some kind of MIDI controller. As always, you can see the help file to see what goes on inside of this. This is useful if you don't know what continuous controller your knobs send on. You can find out what the controller number for those controllers are. Let's have a look at how I use this in the opening. So here's the patch I was playing at the beginning. I know on my chord controller that ctlin 0 is the leftmost fader. Preferences, MIDI. Remember, I was listening to my keyboard. Let's go back to the nano control. And you can see now I move this slider up and down, and we'll talk about what happens with that. What I'm using here for when I say S here, this is a send. So all this does is send your messages to a place that's going to receive it. It says S to note 1. Here's my R for receive to note 1. So what happens is the numbers go into the S and they come out of the R here. This continuous controller, as all MIDI information does, goes from 0 to 127. What I have here is I have select going from all multiples of 12. 12 is rather arbitrary, but it gives me 10 notes across the MIDI range of 127, 0, 12, etc. As I slide through the continuous controller, it triggers these bangs, which send to an arpeggiated chord. In this case, this is a C major 7. If we look here, my velocity, send velocity 1, is controlling the velocity of this make note here. The make note then sends things to the noteout. The reason I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these is I have 8 sliders on my nano control, pairs of notes and velocities, and they each send to a different chord: C major 7, F major 7, E minor 7, and B flat major 7. I made these chord selections aesthetically, and you can use different chords. It's just a compositional decision. I think I've succeeded in making an instrument that's interesting to perform and uses these sliders in a novel way, but also a musically familiar way, like strumming a harp. I hope you can experiment with different ways to get numbers into your computer that you can perform with, and you can take advantage of the simple devices that are around you. In the next video, we're going to move on to working with audio rather than sending MIDI data out, which will present us with some new challenges and new expressive opportunities.